I'm Cristy Code Red, author, entrepreneur, retired professional boxer, and this is 6 tips, 6 months post-show. I realize that you follow me for many different reasons, and I appreciate that, thank you. But this is not anything that has to do with Code Red. This is related to bodybuilding. And don't forget, in Code Red, we don't use exercise as a way to address your weight problem. We address your weight problem through real food, water, and sleep. So the things that I'm going to share with you all have to do with bodybuilding. They are for competitors. You're welcome to watch, of course, but keep that in mind if you're one of my Code Red rebels. I am now 6 months post-show. I competed in a bikini and figure competition at the Emerald Cup, April 29th, 2023. This was my second bodybuilding show, with my first one being over 20 years ago. We did a documentary called Code Red, and it was a massive 7-month transformation that was absolutely incredible, and it is one of the biggest accomplishments of my life. I'm very, very proud of this. But here we are 6 months after the show, and I've learned a lot about myself. And I want to share with you 6 tips, 6 things that I learned that possibly could help you if you're coming off of a show. Tip number 1, you can actually stay pretty gosh darn lean post-show. You don't have to get fat. You don't have to gain all your fat back. Now, nobody can stay as lean as they are on the stage. That's impossible because you're dehydrated when you go into the stage and you're completely depleted. But coming off of the show, rehydrating yourself and working your way back up on calories, you actually don't have to gain a bunch of body fat back. That's just a misconception. Even if you're in an improvement season, or as they call the bulking season, you don't have to gain a bunch of body fat back. I've seen plenty of athletes keep their body fat down, females even, keep their body fat comfortably at 14%. Post-show and do just fine. They eat a lot of food and have great energy. So I think that that is a misconception. You see these bodybuilders coming off of these shows and they're just gaining a ton of body fat back. It is just not the case. Even if you're trying to bulk, you can do it in a good way and you can stay fairly lean post-show. Tip number 2, you need to have a goal after the goal. Now, Casey Cafferty said this to me. Casey, do you remember that? Remember when I called you up or I emailed you and I was upset, and I think I was like 3 months into my transformation, and I was just having a hard time and I asked you for advice. You remember that? Casey Cafferty said, you have to have a goal after the show. You have to have a post-show goal. You have to have something that you can move right into post-show. And I didn't have a goal post-show. My goal post-show was just to do another show. I mean, I was anxious to get back on stage, but I had put my body through a lot and I needed time to repair, and I needed to make a full recovery from that. And so doing another show, going back into prep, was absolutely out of the question. I needed to build up my food volume again. I needed to do it in the right way, and I didn't have another goal other than just wanting to get back on stage. So I regret not having some sort of a goal to go into after the show. I know that Casey told me right after one of her shows, or her first show, she went right into powerlifting competitions. That way she has something else to focus on. And I didn't, and I regret that. Definitely need to have a goal after the show. You're feeling so lost. You know, I was in prep for almost 8 months, and I didn't know any. I mean, that's all I knew for close to a year was just prep and training hard and filming, and I didn't know anything different. I didn't really know who else I was outside of just being Hazel's mom and just running my companies and you know, training hard and eating right, and kind of just eating, sleeping, and breathing this bodybuilding transformation and going into this competition. So post-show, I was really lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know anything. I was feeling very, very lost. And had I had a goal after the show, I could have really transitioned so much better. Tip number 3, 6 months post-show. Don't disconnect from your tribe. We've seen this in Code Red. I mean, I've been doing Code Red 13 years, and I've seen this. We always say People who disconnect from the community, those are the people who gain their weight back. Those are the people who struggle. And the same thing with bodybuilding. You know, you have your tribe, and I built a whole circle of friends within the bodybuilding community, and I love those people, and I disconnected from them. And for no real reason, I just did. And had I been more connected to my tribe, had I stayed at the Mecca and continued to keep in touch with those other girls and guys that all compete, then that would have been, that would have kept it more on the forefront of my mind, and that would have been so much easier to stay on track had I stayed connected to my tribe. If it's important to you, if it's an important part of your life, then it's an important part of your life, bottom line. And it was an important part of my life and still is, but yet I just kind of let it go, and I regret that. So I definitely don't want to see this happen to you. Stay in touch with your tribe. Now, if you don't want to have anything to do with bodybuilding after you compete, like you're like, F you, I don't care, I'm not ever doing this again, then who cares? But that's generally not the case. Most competitors continue to do other shows. They continue to stay in the sport of bodybuilding and competing for years on end. Even if they don't compete, they stay in the show. They might have a booth at the show. They might go on to coaching. They might become a judge. They stay in that world. And it's best if you stay connected to your tribe if you want to stay in that world. That's going to ensure that you continue with the same habits. Tip number 4, this is your lifestyle. This is your lifestyle. For you to complain all during prep and say, well, I tell you what, as soon as I get done with this show, I'm gonna blah, blah, blah. You're gonna what? As soon as you get done with this show, you're gonna what? Because you believe in daily cardio, you believe in daily weight training. You already believe in that. That's not gonna change, show or no show. You know, Eric Cafferty, my coach, said, nothing changes post-show. Now, you won't be doing as much cardio post-show, and you're gonna work up your food volume. Those small things change, but for the most part, nothing changes post-show. This is your life. You will always do cardio and weight training for the rest of your life because you believe, we believe, that it's healthy for long-term sustainable lifestyle, for long-term to keep your muscle on, to keep your heart and your lungs healthy, to keep your mental state good and sharp. The biggest determining factor how well you will age is going to be how much muscle you have on you going into old age. So you believe this as a regular lifestyle. So stop saying, well, I'm going to do this post-show or I'm going to do that post-show. You don't believe in eating that stuff anyway. We don't believe in eating garbage. So why do you talk about eating all this garbage post-show or drinking or doing drugs or, that's just not your lifestyle. This is your lifestyle. It looks a little different in prep than it does off season, but not a whole lot different, as Eric Cafferty would say. Nothing changes. This is your lifestyle. So it's really best if you just mentally prepare yourself and say, prep is not that big of a deal. I didn't think prep was that big of a deal. Now, I was really demanding something absolutely astonishing. Like I was really pushing for a lofty goal that nobody should do in that short amount of time. But I still didn't think it was that big of a deal. I was still able to maintain my life. I was still able to keep up with my daily habits. I was able to train a Belgian Malinois puppy. I was able to run my company. I was able to maintain my relationships. I was able to travel. I was able to do a lot of things that I do already. It was not a big deal. So just get it through your mind. This is your lifestyle. Nothing's going to change. Tip number 5, stay in touch with your coach. I still to this day stay in touch with my coach. And being a coach myself, not a bodybuilding coach, not a prep coach, but a weight loss coach, I always want my clients to stay in touch with me. And I cannot stress this enough. You've got to stay connected to your coach because people can go off the rails really quick and it can get ugly really quick post-show. You've deprived yourself of so much junk food because you're trying to get lean and you're trying to get ready and you're trying to look striated and you're trying to show off separation and you're trying to get vascular and you're really wanting to be nice and dry and lean for the show. And so you're really being strict with your diet and you're being super militant with your training. So when the show gets over, the worst thing you can do is just completely fall off the face of the earth. Stay in touch with your coach. He or she needs to hear from you. They need to know that you're doing fine. They need to know that you're okay. They need to know mentally that you're still all right and that you're still functioning okay and that you haven't slipped down into the post-show blues and that you haven't slipped down into a depression and that you're doing okay. Your coach, and again, as a coach, I feel the same way. As a weight loss coach, not this. So I knew better than to disconnect from my coach, and I stayed in touch with my coach very closely. And I would definitely suggest that you do the same thing. Tip number 6, if you gained your weight back, you can come back from that. Now, this is something that I know firsthand about. It's been 6 months since my show, and for 5 months I maintained within 9 pounds of stage weight, which was just excellent. My coach was happy. I felt great. I continued to train. I continued to do my daily cardio. I continued to watch my diet. Everything was going fine until about month number 6. And then it all fell apart on me. I fell apart. I had something devastating happen in my life, and it just, I let it derail me, and I let myself spiral into a very dark place. And I just gave 2 middle fingers to my diet and my workout regimen. And it showed. And I gained back some weight. And so if this happened to you, don't think it's all lost. Don't think that it's just you're a lost cause and you can't come back from it. You actually can come back from it. I mean, you can if you want to, depending on how bad your weight regain is, to how bad your rebound is, you probably can get it off pretty gosh darn quick. I know that I have maintained my muscle mass that I had gained through my bodybuilding transformation, and so I did not lose the muscle. I just gained body fat. So shedding off that body fat and getting back down to the size and the weight that I'm comfortable with is very doable, and it's fine. And a lot of people say, don't shame yourself, don't shame yourself. I mean, I think you should feel a little bit ashamed, I think you should be like, yeah. But more importantly, you need to identify where you went wrong. Identify where you messed up, what the point was that caused all this to happen. Was it quick like mine, or was it insidious? Was it sneaky? You need to identify where you went wrong. A lot of my clients have weight regain, and it's slow. A lot of the Code Red clients, it's slow. It starts off, it's just 1 pound turns into 6, turns into 11, turns into 22, turns into 36, turns into 74. And it's a real big weight regain. And then they've gained back all 100 pounds that they lost. Mine was quick. It was just, and I know exactly what happened. I can identify exactly where I went wrong and exactly what happened. And if this happens to you, you got to know you can come back from it if you want to, but you've got to pull yourself back up by your bootstraps. You've got to have a good, long, hard talk in the mirror. Nobody's going to do it for you. I mean, you can contact your tribe. You can contact your fellow bodybuilders. And I'm sure if I reached out to Chelsea or Shane or Lolo or Bailey or Kalia or any of the people that were in my tribe, Casey, I've talked to Casey already about this. Eric, of course, Corey. If I talked to them. And I told them, hey, listen, I did tell them, I gained some weight back, and they're going to encourage you. They're going to be like, yeah, listen, you got to come back from it. But the thing about bodybuilders is they don't have a whole lot of sympathy. And they're just like, you know what to do. Do what you got to do. And really, no one's holding your hand through this. That's the thing about the bodybuilding. You got to do the right thing when ain't nobody looking. Bodybuilders are strict, and they are driven, and they are extremely disciplined. And they don't need accountability. They don't. They can do it themselves. And you need to be able to do this yourself. And you need to be sick of your own bullcrap enough to do the right thing when nobody's looking. Because most of the time, ain't nobody looking. Don't try to hide. Don't try to hide. It's clear. Everybody knows it. We can all see it. But are you sick of it? If you're sick of it enough, get back on track. You can come back from this. Own it, make your comeback. So I hope you enjoyed 6 tips, 6 things I learned 6 months post-show, and I hope it helps somebody in some way. Maybe learn from my mistakes, maybe hopefully prevent you from making the same mistakes, maybe get you a little further ahead. I know that when I was in prep, I watched a ton of YouTube videos from other girls who had gone through it to try to learn from them, and perhaps this can be helpful to you. I'll talk to you soon.